Okay, hello my fellow Earthlings. I am doing a new project. It is a portrait of the author and philosopher Dr. Jordan Peterson. I have been listening to him for 2 or 3 years now actually, and I find it extremely helpful when it comes to dealing with my own issues and own things that happened in my life. So I decided to paint this portrait of him. He is actually coming to Norway, having a lecture the 6th of May. And I'll see what happens if I can finish this until then. Maybe I would be able to give it to him. Would be nice. I don't have much hope, but you never know. I really like this portrait, and this is just the first sketch or the first hours of the painting process. But this is also just a flow. First, I play a segment of him talking. It's like 10 minutes, and then I have a segment after that where I talk about him and talk about his philosophy and our differences and stuff, and I also talk about my own issues, love life, and love life existence and everything. So I hope you enjoy, and tell me in comment what you think, and I hope to see you in the next video.
People say this courage, they talk to me about my courage fairly frequently, and that's not right exactly. I just learned to be afraid of the right thing. And I really mean that. I mean, I saw in endless repetition in my clinical practice and in my own private life, when my eyes were open, the consequences of not saying what was true. It's like whatever hell you might fall into by opening your mouth when you have something to say that isn't popular, it's nothing like the hell that you're going to envelop yourself in if you lose control of your own tongue and mind. And like I said, in my clinical practice, I never saw anyone get away with anything even once. And so all you have in a situation like that is what is the truth. Now, of course, you only have your approximations to the truth, but that's better than nothing. And so you need to be afraid of the right thing, and you should be afraid of contaminating your soul with deceit. That's what you should be afraid of. That will definitely do you in, and I know exactly how. What happens is, garbage in, garbage out, the old programmer saying goes, and so you'll fill your head with nonsense and no one will call you on it except you, but you can still that voice if you try hard enough. You just wait until you get in real trouble. One day there'll come a point where you have to make a decision, and the decision is the difference between life and death, or worse, between someone else's life and death, or worse, between health and the suffering that's worse than death. And because you've compromised yourself to such a degree, you will not be able to rely on your judgment, and you will make the mistake you shouldn't make, and then you're done. And that will absolutely happen. So you tell mistruths voluntarily at your exceptional peril, and you avoid the unpleasant truths that you might have to delve into in all their messiness at your absolute peril and the peril of everyone around you. And so if you see that, you become afraid of that. That's hell. And hell is worse than death. So, and I mean that most sincerely. The existential psychotherapist in the 50s, taking a page from Heidegger, talked about thrownness, right? The arbitrary nature of our existence. I mean, here you are, you have the ethnicity and race that was bestowed upon you. You had no choice in that. You're the victim and the beneficiary of this particular historical moment. You're the victim and beneficiary of all the atrocity and the wonders of the past. You deal with your own emotions. You deal with the fact of this specific time and place, all of that. And there is a sense of, there's a sense of mortality, certainly, that's associated with that, with finitude and mortality. And you can easily say, in some sense, that we're all victimized deeply by our own susceptibility to vulnerability and tragedy. And I think that's true, but then the question is, well, what's the best way of dealing with that? And falling prey to it. When my daughter was young, she was very ill. And one of the things we told her repeatedly, and which I think she did very well to her credit, was often she was too ill really to be able to go to school because she couldn't wake up in the morning and she was in pain. But she needed to go to school. And one of the things we told her was, don't use your illness as an excuse. Right? Because you're already in trouble, kid. You got your problems and they're serious. But if you can hold on to the distinction between the part of you that can, in spite of this, and the part that can't because of it, and not blur that distinction, then that's one more thing you have on your side while you're attempting to struggle through this. And to her credit, she managed that, and quite pristinely, and that was extraordinarily helpful. It was very difficult at times. After she had had her hip replaced, she couldn't get around that well. And so we decided to put her in a motorcycle course, which was a rather terrifying thing to do since she just had a hip replacement, but she needed to have a scooter to get around. And so she went with her mother to this motorcycle course, and they were driving motorcycles, not scooters. And at one point, one of the people who was being trained wiped out on the motorcycle, and it was rather traumatic, let's say. And she woke up the next day and was too afraid to go to the course. And so we said, well, it's understandable. Why don't you just get in the car and go to the course and see when you get there if you can manage it? And she got herself out of bed and went and managed it, and then she passed the course, and then she had a scooter and could zoom around the city for the next couple of years. And so that was really good. But it was very hard to draw that line, right? Because in some sense, she'd been victimized by this arbitrary illness. And, you tend as a parent to have an outpouring of empathy, the empathy that can destroy under those circumstances, because you coddle the person more than is absolutely necessary, right? And you have every reason to, because they're suffering like mad. But you want to be a victim and be a tragic figure? And you might say yes, but you wouldn't if you thought it through. So, and then if someone asked me that question, say, in a clinical setting, I would do a little analysis. I was like, okay, well, you're suffering from this traumatic experience. You want to get over it. We'd have to figure out what the practical steps might be, and that might be finding somebody to talk to, or there's other ways of dealing with it. But you delve into the practical realm to sort of address that. No nostalgia for catastrophe. I think that's what that means, is that when you leave what's not good, you wash the dust off your feet, and you don't look back. And that's a very harsh lesson. It means that there's no excuses whatsoever for not getting up and getting at it. That's what it means. And it means that, it even means that when people are beset with a catastrophe, like let's say the death of their father, that they are prone to use that as an excuse for not going about the business that they should be going about. Because they can say to themselves, well, I would accept. And accept, there's always good reasons. I mean, believe me, there's always good reasons for not doing what you should. That's for sure. The reasons pile up day after day to not do what you should. Especially because you're aiming at things in the future. You can put them off indefinitely, right? Because of the demands of the day. But these stories, they say a variety of things, especially in combination. They say, when you leave somewhere terrible, do not look back. There's no nostalgia. That's the letting the dead parts of yourself go. And then if you're going to follow the good, there's no excuse not to do it, and it means no excuse whatsoever, under any circumstances. And then it's taken even farther with regards to familiar relationships. It is, you can't even let them stand in your way. And I think that's all true. And I think I've seen virtually all of that in my clinical practice. Like, there's no excuse whatsoever for not getting at what it is that you should be doing. And I think there's something else that's going on here, especially in the New Testament stories, which is even maybe worse, which is it's absolutely reprehensible to justify your inaction with a catastrophe that extracts mercy from other people. Right? There's a tricky game that's going, well, of course I can't do that. Look at the terrible thing that's just happened to me and say, okay, I understand. You're absolved of any necessity to move forward because of your current catastrophe. It's like, well, actually you're not. And it's rather rude of you to use it as an excuse. And it's certainly counter.
So, that was Dr. Jordan Peterson, and this is a portrait I'm painting of him. It's from a photo I found on the internet, so I might get into maybe get into some copyright issues. Jordan Peterson is coming to Norway 6th of May, holding a lecture, and I bought a ticket, and I thought I was going to make a painting. And maybe see if I can in some way be able to donate it to him or give it to him as a gift. And why? Well, because he has been a great help for me for the last 3 years, I would say, because I had my hardships, I had my stuff I had to face. I had to face my shadow, I had to face my habits and face habits that actually didn't pan out to be too good. There's nothing bad in that sense, but things that drained my resources and drained my mental resources, and also led to some things happening that came out from the side, which I hadn't really anticipated. You know, as he says, it's you keep on doing the wrong thing over time. It's going to come a time where you have done so many mistakes that it's really hard to fix it. It's hard to walk back from it. It's hard to reignite. And even if you go too far, even go to prison. You know, it's like everything just falls apart. And kind of got myself into some things by accident, really. Reckless, you know, you just burn all the calories at once. You might not have many to support you when you actually need it. So I started to listen to Stoic philosophy and Jordan Peterson. Initially, I didn't care much about him because he had this discussion with another kind of hero of mine, or at least former hero, Sam Harris, about religion, and I totally disagree. I don't really know what Jordan Peterson actually means by his religious talk, if he actually believes in God, if it's just a kind of a symbolic God, or what it is like if it is a Einstein type of God, that looks at God as the mathematics and the creative force of the mathematics of the universe. And I can't really get what he means, so, but that is the least important thing for me when it comes to Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is a very honest person. and he explains things in a very good way, and it is a kind of a simple way, and the enthusiasm and the honesty and all that is just so rare. And if we should say, Horace Mann said, man should be ashamed to die before they have won some victory for humanity. And Jordan Peterson is one of the people that has already done that. He has already won several victories for humanity. He has done it on a personal level by being an honest person, to put himself out there, for protecting free speech, for being willing to take the heat, for being willing to basically tell the truth, at least as he sees it. And people are so afraid of that. There was another hero of mine, the late Christopher Hitchens, which also had that in him. And he had that, the strength and the stamina to just say, F you, as he did say in one of his lectures, for fun, of course. But he meant it, if you disagree with me, you can pick a number, stand in line, and kiss my ass. And I remember back in 2007 when I heard Christopher Hitchens say that for the first time. One of the first lectures called Free Will that I saw of him. It was just love by first bite. It was just, when he said that, I was like, yes, another person who is willing to just say flat out, say, fuck this. I'm gonna go all the way. I'm not gonna care if people like me. I'm not gonna care if I get killed. I'm not gonna care if bad shit happens. I'm just gonna go for truth, and may the chip fall where they may. I have done many mistakes, and recently I've done mistakes. I have to say I had this thing with a girl, and I overreacted, and it may have cost me love, and listening to Stoicism for so long and calling myself a Stoic, and then seeing how my brain wasn't able to take a step back. Of course I disagreed in what happened, and we had a discussion about that. But my reaction was basically a total fight and flight. And I did a decision while I was mad by breaking up. And then just a few hours later, and what you do, you kind of make a decision when you're mad or sad or feel somebody stepped on you. It can be anything. It can be with friends, it can be at work, it can be anything. And you react too fast. And instead of stepping back and take an overview of the situation, you just go bang. You just go all the way. And you let your anger, your resentment or anger, decide what you do. And it gives some kind of, that's strange with it, it gives some kind of feeling of control. I remember when I did it, I felt, okay, and then I started to clean around me and stuff, and then this nagging feeling starts to kick in after some hours, and you start to regret it, and you start to try to fix it. And she was actually very diplomatic actually in that when this happened, and I just stepped all over it. Now that is kind of it's not why I'm painting Jordan Peterson. But it's like you have to take a look at, you have to meet your shadow in a way. You have to, as he talks about the shadow, you have to figure out why do I react like I react? Why aren't I able to live what I'm saying? Live the stoicism that I'm actually preaching? Why did I let my anger steer me when I have read or listened to Seneca's about anger like 10 times, and despite that you react like a moron? And then you see it, and I've actually gone back in time and seen how I have reacted in similar situation even 10 years ago when something. So I just realized that much of my my problems in doing the right thing or saying the right thing is my personal insecurity. And that insecurity actually comes from my childhood. It comes from being kind of pushed out a little, not bullied physically, but kind of ignored, pushed out, bullied, like mentally or verbally, and always feeling that I wasn't kind of fitting in. My daughter actually has some of the same things, and we have the same reactions to these things, and I discussed this much with her. And it comes from actually rejection issues. And it's funny because I needed another falling in love, really, to see it clearly. And despite it might be too late, I've kind of learned and seen what I have to work with, and it's actually worse than I thought. And Jordan Peterson coming to Oslo, and which actually has been great help when it comes to diving into my depth, and finding this shadow and confronting my demons. It's gonna be great listening to him. So yeah, that is basically why I'm painting him, because he's one of the people that deserve to be painted, or deserve. Not that I'm that good of a painter, I'm not a narcissist or anything. As I usually say, I'm glad people like my paintings better than I do. And they do, because I'm very critical when it comes to my own art. There was this girl I saw a nice girl actually, that was exhibiting her painting, and he said, "Oh, this is almost close to being a masterpiece, but it isn't finished yet." And I just wrote under it, it's very dangerous for an artist to start believing in their own myth. It is not up to the artist himself to judge his own work, or her or his work, because you have to remember the bias, the extreme bias you have, blocks you from actually seeing it. Like for me, it's probably the opposite side. It blocks me to see that it is maybe, according to people, better than I think. Because I go the other way. I'm not good, never good enough. And that is also from childhood things, that I'm never good enough. It doesn't come from my parents, because they are great, beautiful parents. My parents is just amazing. I have a great brother. Well, I also had great friends growing up, but it was more from, I had some friends, but there was some things for a period that gave me a wound that never healed. And I tended to cover that wound up with chasing girls, too much training, too much of everything, to kind of distract myself. But I never actually dared to try to reach the girls that I was actually in love with, because I didn't have the self-confidence to do it. So I usually say that I used to be able to get any girl that I didn't really want. And that is of course pretty sad, because it's led to relationships and stuff that has never actually panned out to anything. Because if you don't really fall in love, it's very hard to, for me anyway, to really connect. And usually when I did, it died before, or not connect, but if I fell in love, it kind of died before I even got started, because my shadow made me very emotional and irrational, like sending too many text messages, and go further back, you just start to chase the girl instead of you. Actually, I'm thought to believe that if you give the girls all the flowers and you give the girls all your attention, they will want you, because this shows that you're such a nice guy. And he also talks about that in some of his lectures, and it's not how it works. Sadly, telling a girl that you love her does not make you get her, unless she is on the same level. And that is a sad fact. Now, he has also, a lot of lectures about how to balance out your life, how to focus. You have the book 12 Rules of Life, which is brilliant. And but I have heard it on audiobook many times. But even after hearing it, even after all the Stoic philosophy, I still have the same problems. But I'm noticing one thing, that it's getting a little bit better all the time. So yeah, that is basically the effect him and also the Stoics has had on me. That despite things changing slowly, things are changing. My focus is different. My future, how I look at my future is also now different. I will focus on my art. I will focus on writing. And if I can have love in my life, that would be great. But that too will not be the most important thing for me to live a good life or a great life. So I just have to take what's coming and just start to focus on important things, I guess. And for all artists should actually, if you're an artist, you have to accept that you have to do the work, and you can't just play around like an ass, because sooner or later reality will come up and bite you in the ass. And as he said, you could do too many mistakes over too much time. Sooner or later you will come to a point where the load of all your mistakes and all your wrong choices has such a weight that it is basically impossible to turn it around. I'm not there. I know I'm not there yet. But if I kept on doing all the mistakes over and over again, sooner or later that would be the result. Now, I talk just right from the liver here, you know, I just talk about stuff that I think while I'm painting. This is the things I think about when I'm painting. Also, my painting is a more like it's more like an intuitive process. So it's not that conscious actually. So I can think and talk while painting. Maybe it's that the fact that I have half my mother's brain and half my father's brain, and they are in total conflict. So I actually tested my brain once, and it has some features. I use more both sides than normal people. I also write with both my hands, and a little bit kind of double-sided. I write better with my left, but I'm painting with my right. So I'm also going to start changing the palette, just turn around, start learning to paint with my left hand, just to build brain, build neurons, and see if I can do it. Anyway, I would recommend for people to listen to the lectures of Jordan Peterson. I'm going to put some links in the description to his webpage, YouTube page and stuff. And I will highly recommend that you listen to him. And it is like when he says, you know, when your inner voice are telling you not to do something, you should listen to it. But also, you are allowed to change your mind. As Christopher Hitchens did say once when he was confronted with the fact that he had changed his political stance, because he went from being an international socialist to more libertarian, not a right wing but libertarian, and he kind of went away from his younger years politics and just congratulated his opponent with being totally consistent over time. I mean, we have to accept that we change. We have to accept that we get new ideas, that we throw away the things we used to do to make our lives better. You know, I don't need to run around and chase girls all the time anymore. I like girls just as much as I used to do. But I have no need to have a new one all the time. I don't have that need anymore. And why don't I have that need anymore? Not because I'm not horny. I'm horny. It's just, it's too much noise. It's too much hassle. And also, it's too much heartbreak. You know, you meet a girl, you don't fall in love with her, you have sex with her a few times, then she falls in love with me, and then I have to break up with her. And it hurts me and it hurts her. So no, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't wanna binge drink human beings just because I have a hole in my heart to fill up with short bursts and bullshit. It's like overeating and then wonder why you feel like shit, you know. It may feel good when you do it. You get that kick and then you fall flat after it. It doesn't have any lasting qualities worth taking care of. So that is my opinion about that. It's not that I'm never going to have a one-night stand or never going to find a new girl if this doesn't pan out and stuff, but my focus is, I've said this for a long time, if I was told that I would never have sex again, that would be one or the least of my problems. Because my focus, my happiness, my passion, my drive comes from painting. Now there's a lot of drive in falling in love, there's no doubt about that, and it's real, it's crazy real, of course it is. It feels more real than real. But the thing that will stick with you over time is the thing you create for yourself. You can't buy love, you can't buy happiness, you can't... The driving force for me to actually paint comes from one single source. Trying to get it right, trying to flow, trying to make something happen in the painting. That is the driving force in everything from martial arts to... It's never been a competition, I've never been in competition with other people. I do not feel, I never ever in any competition with other people. When it comes to painters or whatever, it's all about me, it's my competition with myself. And if artists could have that kind of outlook on life, I think both art and artists would be better people, because there's a lot of narcissism and sociopaths in art. So a lot of sick puppies who have found art to basically show off. And I remember a guy that I used to know who said, I told him that I would like to, I love piano music, and I said to him that I love to learn how to play the piano. And he said, learn the Moonlight Sonata of Beethoven and impress the girls and get some pussy. And I just looked at him, and he was a painter, and he had basically the same outlook on his painting. It was all about vanity. And I just said, that is just not the point. The point is the touch. The point is learning new things. The point is my flow. It isn't, I'm not going to teach myself to play the piano to get girls. For heaven's sake. And so, yeah. And he basically also stopped painting. And it was really predictable, because if you base your career or what you do on vanity and showing off, there will not be anything real with your work. Your work would fall flat. Because real people are rare, very rare. And if I could say one thing about myself, I am truthfully me. I don't think anyone who knows me would say that I'm in any way fake. And when it comes to emotion, I show them, despite it might be bad strategy. I will show my feelings anyway, because it's kind of being emotionally honest. It's like when I paint, I try to be emotionally honest. Or it's kind of natural. I wouldn't be able to not be emotionally honest. And I think that comes out in my paintings. My paintings are far from perfect. There are way better painters than me in the world. And that is not the point. The point is your brushwork honest. Does your brushwork represent something truthful? Or is it kind of forced, or forced is more like it. It's like when people who have no pitch, try to learn how to dance. So they go into some course. Of course you get a little bit better dancers, but it will never become the virtuoso, because they just don't have the emotional map in them to tap into that. You have to, it's things like kissing. You can't really learn it. You kind of know it. You know it. What to say? You know it intuitively, or you don't even have to know it. You just know in a way. And that is the same thing with with creativity. You just, some people, they say, well, you have a talent. Well, talent also. It's just something you say somebody have after doing the dirty job, so you can actually see that the level of skill is higher than the average. Now, this was a very long rant, but anyway, Jordan Peterson has an enormous amount of lectures and stuff online, and I would highly recommend that you look him up, because it's really worth it. Of course, for me, as I said, the religious stuff is kind of odd. I disagree with him in many things there, like where does how do we have a moral zeitgeist, or whatever you call it, if there is no God or higher power? Well, you get it from, you simply get your morals from understanding that other people are human beings. How you react to people when you kind of don't want them. Everybody's nice when they want something, but when they don't want it, they turn into bloody well demons, many. And you see that's all over and over again. So, I mean, morals comes from the understanding that all human beings are equally important. That they are not an object to be used for your own pleasure, or used like a tool to reach some selfish goal. As I say, I do have my dark sides, I know that, and I could actually tap into them if it was necessary. But if you gave me all the money and all the girls in the world, all the power, I wouldn't kill a single or hurt a single innocent human being, because I understand that that human being is me. And that's the only thing we need to understand how to value others, how to have a moral zeitgeist or whatever. You don't need a God, you don't need the 10 Commandments, which is of course bullshit anyway, because it's not really about morals, it's more like praising God and bending the knee, so forget about the 10 Commandments. Okay, you shall not steal, shall not kill, blah blah blah, but respect from that is not much to get from the Bible. You have to have a secular, in my view, you have to have a secular morals that comes from the simple understanding of the value of other people, period. Full stop. You can't, and to say that, as he have done in a lecture that I heard, which I totally disagree about, that communism and dictatorship and Hitler was a result of the fact that we lost the beliefs in gods. That is also totally ridiculous. I mean, you go back in history, the more religious, or you go and look at all the countries in the world that are most religious, every single country, the more religious a country is, the worse the people are off in the country. What you need is reason, what you need is rational law, what you need is understanding the simple truth that we are all stardust and we came from the same source. And as Carl Sagan did say, we are the way for the universe to know itself. Consciousness is probably the most beautiful thing that the physical laws has come up with, evolution, true chemistry and evolution. And when you understand that, You wouldn't kill innocent people or abuse them or sexually abuse them or just use them to get money or whatever. You just wouldn't do it because you know that this human being is me. It is my daughter, it is my parents. So no, Dr. Jordan Peterson, I decline the notion that you have to have religion to have morality, because that is just false. And if Christopher Hitchens were alive, sadly he is dead, he would have very interesting discussions with Jordan Peterson, but sadly we will never hear the discussion Jordan Peterson contra Christopher Hitchens. Maybe somebody should actually make a YouTube video where you take the arguments of Jordan Peterson and you take the arguments against from Christopher Hitchens. Maybe I should do that myself. Maybe I'll do that to my YouTube channel just to show how that debate would be. It could be interesting. We have science that explains why things exist, and we absolutely do not need any superstition. And also, everything in the universe works exactly as it does without that assumption. So, if there were gods or godlike creatures, which there could be because of infinity and the vastness of space and of course, as I said, infinity and the fact that there has been probably infinitely many universes before our universe came into existence. So of course there can be creatures that has come to a point where they can actually create universes from quantum physics. It wouldn't surprise me at all that it can create black holes that suck in enough matter to go basically supernova or create unbalance in the quantum soup to get new universes to pop out from will. But it still wouldn't be gods. They would be creatures with a high technology. So no. There is no gods. We don't need gods. But what I like him for is his lectures about the human condition. And if you also listen to the lectures about Freud and Jung and all these other Nietzsche and stuff, it's really interesting. I will start doing more flows when I paint with audiobooks and stuff in. So I can have that in the background so people can listen to that while I'm painting. Of course, that will not make my YouTube channel the most interesting in the world, but there are a few people who really like that I do that, and if I can reach a few people in a positive way, I think I have actually done that thing that Horace Mann did say, that I should be ashamed of dying before I won a small victory for humanity. And on that note, I rest my case. There will be a full tutorial of this painting process on YouTube in a couple of weeks, I hope. And yeah, so until then, stay tuned. I might do some shorter versions of it, like clips of it before that. But I have so many videos that I'm going to post on YouTube now that I should have enough to do. So anyway, you see, I use all kinds of stuff, the back side of this. But I think the sketch now is kind of falling into place, and I will just keep on painting. And I see you in the next segment, I guess. Okay. Bye, 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 bye. Okay, here you have some of the textures. If you'd like me to teach you how to paint, you can go to my Patreon and sign up for $1 or $15. Or whatever you like to donate to support my artwork. I hope to see you there, and I also hope you share it on social media, and I hope that you watch my next video and all the other ones too. So